Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and stopping by the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the show. So, EA provided some details about the upcoming campaign for Battlefield 6. We got some slides and some information about what to expect. One of those details was the projected length of time to complete the campaign, and that's one of the things I want to talk about in today's video. But before we do, here's the part of the show where I thank everyone. Subscribers, channel members, supporters, and clanmates, my people who have helped me get here with their support for the channel. Whether I'm talking The Division or Battlefield, you've all made this possible. Thank you so much for your continued support. Okay, let's do it. For a long time, the Battlefield franchise has carried an uneasy relationship with single-player campaigns. Fans grew up with the spectacle of Battlefield 3's intense narrative and the global-spanning drama of Battlefield 4's story, not to mention the beloved humor of Bad Company. But EA and DICE have always treated Battlefield primarily as a multiplayer-first experience, leaving campaigns feeling like an obligation rather than the heart of the franchise. When 2042 launched with no campaign at all, it was billed as multiplayer-only future. The message was clear: campaigns were dead. And that didn't land well. Stripping out campaign meant stripping out one of the series' anchors, the immersive context that makes those massive multiplayer battles matter. Without a story to latch onto, 2042 felt a little hollow. It had spectacle, it had destruction, but it lacked purpose. Who were we fighting for? What was at stake? Why did it matter? Fast forward to today, EA and DICE have confirmed Battlefield 6 is bringing campaign back. And from the details and early visuals, it's clear that this isn't just a checkbox. It's a statement. The decision isn't about nostalgia either. In a market where Call of Duty doubled down on blockbuster campaigns, single-player shooters like Doom and Wolfenstein thrive, players want more narrative hooks in their live service ecosystems. EA knows it can't afford another 2042 situation, especially after the recent shakeups with the company going private. This campaign has to resonate. It has to prove Battlefield still has soul. The big talking point? The campaign is estimated at 4 to 5 hours long. And some players immediately balked at that. Veterans could clear that in an afternoon. Average players could finish it over a weekend, even while dipping into PvP. For newcomers, it's easily a week. At first glance, 4 to 5 hours feels short, but here's some context. Battlefield 3 averaged 5 hours. Battlefield 4 ran 5 to 6 hours. Battlefield 1 clocked in at 6.5, and Battlefield 5 landed around 6. Only Bad Company 1 and 2 broke the 7-hour mark. So, Battlefield 6 campaign is shorter, yes, but not wildly outside the franchise's norm. If anything, it trims maybe an hour compared to past games. Completionists could stretch that further. What makes this interesting is EA's own messaging. They want to remind players that war stories matter. Yet they're packaging that reminder in a campaign shorter than a long Netflix movie. It raises the question, will this be tight and impactful, or over before it gets going? The official first look page even describes how single-player and multiplayers take place in a shared, interconnected world. That could imply narrative expansions down the line. But let's be real, Battlefield has never been down for doing story DLCs. Add-ons have always been multiplayer maps, modes, and cosmetics. Still, if EA ever wanted to set a new trend, this would be the moment. The campaign appears to be set against a backdrop of geopolitical instability. Not futuristic sci-fi, not pure historical reenactment, but near-future realism, very much in vein of Battlefield 3. The world is fractured, alliances are fragile, friend and foe blur with every mission. From the information available, the conflict revolves around proxy wars, escalating regional clashes manipulated by global powers. This reflects today's real-world warfare in 2025, messy, indirect, and full of players pulling strings behind the scenes. The protagonist's role seems deliberately ambiguous. Rather than a larger-than-life hero, you're a soldier caught in shifting allegiances, possibly part of a multinational task force. It's a setup that echoes Battlefield 1's anthology approach, but instead of separate vignettes, it may have weave perspectives into one continuous story, a narrative of unpredictability and compromise. Themes of betrayal and fractured trust seem central. Today's ally could be tomorrow's enemy. Mercenaries and private contractors blur the line between soldier and profiteer. Battlefield has hinted at this before, Admiral Chang in Battlefield 4, rogue elements in Battlefield 3, but never leaned in this hard. Now, we need to look at the tone in the field. And the visuals match this tone. Urban centers under siege, landscapes scarred by artillery, civilians caught in the crossfire. This isn't 2042 sterile, wide-open arenas. It's gritty, immersive, and human scale. Where 2042 leaned into speculative fiction, climate collapse, no-pats, refugee armies, Battlefield 6 looks a bit more grounded. The conflicts are familiar, the stakes relatable, and the world uncomfortably close to our own. That plausibility is a deliberate shift, and it suggests DICE is taking immersion more seriously than in years past. This premise allows for variety without feeling random. Missions could spawn urban firefights, rural insurgencies, industrial sieges, and coastal cities, all tied together by a continuous arc. And narratively, Battlefield 6 could even set the stage for 2042 further down the line. Not immediately, but as the franchise progresses, threads could connect. Execution is the question. A good premise is only as strong as its writing, pacing, and gameplay. Battlefield's campaigns have struggled before. Battlefield 5 felt rushed, Battlefield 4 was cliché-heavy, and Battlefield 3 often comes across like a Call of Duty imitation. If Battlefield 6 leans into grounded, morally gray storytelling, it could finally give the franchise a campaign worth remembering. Even if it's short, it could still be sharp. Now, every strong campaign needs characters that stick. Based on what we know, Battlefield 6 will blend recognizable archetypes with morally ambiguous figures. The player character may be more defined this time, with a voice, motivations, a backstory, giving emotional weight to missions. You're not just capturing objectives, you're doing it because it matters to somebody. Factions appeared layered, not as a simple NATO versus Russian fight. Expect multinational coalitions, smaller states caught in crossfires, and private contractors playing both sides. That's messy, but it mirrors real-world geopolitics. Antagonists might not be cartoon villains either. Instead, opposing leaders driven by survival or national interest. That opens the door for betrayals, uneasy truces, and surprises that keep tensions high. The real challenge? Squad cohesion. Battlefield has struggled to make supporting characters memorable. Bad Company's crew worked because they had heart and banter. Could Battlefield 6 deliver something similar? Maybe not, given the series' tone, but even one or two standout personalities could anchor the story. Without that, the campaign risks being just another series of firefights. With it, every loss and victory will hit harder. If characters give the story heart, structure gives it rhythm. The campaign will reportedly feature 9 missions, each set progressively further into the future. That's unusual, a built-in time jump structure. It could either create continuity or feel disconnected, depending on execution. Variety looks promising, though. Urban sieges, rural pursuits, industrial battle zones. The question is whether they'll stitch together into a coherent arc instead of a greatest hits playlist like past campaigns. Gameplay freedom is the big opportunity here. Battlefield is at its best when it lets you play creatively: destruction, vehicles, gadgets, squad tactics. Too often, campaigns water that down. Battlefield 6 could flip the script by letting you breach walls, flank with armor, or sneak in, making single player feel like Battlefield, not a cut-rate Call of Duty. Multiplayer crossover is inevitable. Assets, characters, and environments will bleed into the PvP. Cross-progression will almost certainly be there. Done right, it creates synergy. Done wrong, it risks making campaign feel like a tutorial. The sweet spot is making the story stand strong, with rewards as bonuses, not crutches. Now, comparisons to Call of Duty are unavoidable. Call of Duty has mastered the roller coaster blockbuster campaign. Battlefield doesn't need to copy that. What it needs to do is lean into its DNA: scale, chaos, destruction, and freedom. A Battlefield campaign should feel unpredictable, no two firefights alike, because the tools of war are in your hands. That's the bold statement DICE needs to make. Now, with tone, style, and presentation, tone makes or breaks immersion. From what we've seen, Battlefield 6 is aiming for grounded realism with cinematic flair. Cities felt dense, war-torn, lived in, more like Battlefield 3 than 2042. Presentation can elevate this. Battlefield 1 proved how narration, environmental detail, and music can create weight. Battlefield 6 could unify those touches into one story arc. Cutscenes, dialogue, even graffiti or civilian chatter painted the world. Music is another weapon. Battlefield's history includes iconic scores, and rumors suggest Battlefield 6 is leaning into nu metal influences. Personally, I like nu metal, but shooters traditionally carry an old-school rock or orchestral edge. Think AC/DC or Metallica, Megadeth. Either way, tone depends on execution, and music has the power to make or break immersion. Dialogue matters too. Past campaigns stumbled with cliches like Battlefield 4 or rushed scripts like Battlefield 5. Soldiers need to talk like soldiers, a mix of gallows humor, exhaustion, and blunt honesty. Bad Company nailed that balance. Battlefield 6 has to do so as well. If they get the tone right, this could feel like a genuine war story rather than just another action backdrop. Now, why does this campaign matter? Because it's Battlefield's shot at rebuilding its identity. After 2042's rocky launch, fans lost trust. A campaign says, we listened. We know Battlefield isn't just about guns and gadgets, it's about immersion and story. Industry context matters here as well. Call of Duty learned skipping campaigns was a mistake. Even Destiny 2 keeps players hooked with story beats. Campaign isn't fluff, it's strategy. And for EA, building Battlefield as a platform, not just a product, campaign could be the spine for seasonal updates. Imagine story arcs being here and carrying into multiplayer expansions there. There's a future where single player isn't disposable but fundamental and foundational. The return of campaign in Battlefield 6 is more than a bullet point. It's a promise. From fractured alliances to potential squad drama, from missions designed with real freedom to tone that blend grit and humanity, the pieces are here. The risk is that 4 or 5 hours might not be enough. The gamble is whether players will see the time as tight and a memorable story, or just too short. Fans want to believe again. They want immersion, camaraderie, and consequence. They want Battlefield to matter. For me, this is Battlefield's redemption shot. Not just offline content, but a chance to prove that the franchise can still tell stories worth remembering. Campaign isn't a mode, it's a message. And if Battlefield 6 delivers, that message will be clear. Battlefield is back. And for the love of God, please give us Bad Company 3. I hope you all liked this video. If you did, please leave a like. What are your thoughts on the campaign and its length? Is 4 or 5 hours enough, or do you want more? Drop those comments, I'll be reading. You can find us on X and Discord. Check out the merch store, we're always open. And we're on all the platforms, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. That's it for the plugs, folks. And until the next one, this is Hannibal, signing off.